Okay, welcome to part two, where we're going to keep on building this 6-day cycle calendar, right? We're going to put 6 days into a 5-day week. Somehow going to make that work here. So let's create, well, in part one, we actually built a function that's actually going to return the days. And we're going to start with a function in this part that's going to build the calendar. Build calendar. And the first thing we need to do is create a days variable, and we're going to call this convert dates function that we wrote. So what this is going to do, it's going to do all that fun stuff that we had there, and then return those days over to here. Okay, so that's where we're starting. And what do we need to do next? We need to actually build a calendar. So let's call it calendar. And we're going to call the calendar app service. And we're going to get calendars by name. Let's call it 6-day cycle schedule. Okay, we're going to try to get that calendar. And if it doesn't exist, we're going to create it. If it does exist, we're going to delete it and create it again. So if let's go ahead and log it, see what it brings back when we run this. Whoa, my graphics messed up a little bit here, didn't they? Interesting. The Google graphics mess up on the Zoom. So let's try that at this point. See if it exists. Now we're going to have to give it more permissions because we're accessing the Calendars app service. Before we were just accessing the spreadsheet app, but we're adding in one new element of functionality to this tool. So let's see, what do we got here? Oh, I didn't run it, I just saved it. Oh, sorry, okay. Oh, I'm running convert dates, not build calendar. That's why. Okay. So let's see if we've got a calendar here. Empty array. So if calendar.length if there is something in that, we're going to actually call this calendars. If calendar.length, we're going to say calendar equals calendars element 0, and then we can create events. But if there is no length, we need to add that calendar. So let's do calendar app create calendar, and let's call it 6-day cycle schedule. Whoa, messed up. Cycle schedule. To avoid, so I statically typed out 6-day cycle schedule in both these spots, but if I were to create a typo, that would really mess me up here. So I'm going to actually statically or dynamically, now I'm confusing myself. I'm going to put that into a variable. We'll call it calendar name. And let's cut that out there, paste it in there, perfect. And now inside of both these places, if I type calendar name, I'm accessing that variable, so I know they're going to be identical. Okay, calendar name. Also want to create calendar name. Okay, perfect. And here I want to create events. So I'm doing the same thing in both these places, creating events. So the best thing to do is to break that off into its own function. Create events, and I'm actually going to pass it the calendar that we have just built here. So let's do create events, pass it the calendar, and create events, pass it the calendar. All right, perfect. Now, over here, we got to do stuff to that calendar, and I actually just realized these days here, I actually don't use them in the build calendar. They're actually part of creating the events. So let's move that over. And now we've got some days and a calendar, and we can start building. So let's take days. Let's create a for loop with an iterator equal to 0, and as long as the I is less than days.length, and we're going to increment that by 1 every single time. So then we need to calendar, create all day event, and we're going to give it a title, which is going to be days with that incrementer of I and the value of cycle, because that corresponds to A1, B2, C3, D4, E5, or F6. Perfect. And then we got to put a date in here. And let's just call a new date and days I dot year, days I dot month, and days I dot day. And that, close that up, creating that all day event. And we're going to actually add one other cool little feature in here. Since we're only at 7 minutes into the video, we got some time. We're going to actually put a different color on every single one of those days. There's a method on calendar called set color. Oh, I cannot type when I'm making these videos. Set color. We're going to actually do calendar colors, and we're going to give it the yeah, since it's 6, perfect. I think that will work. Right, so we're going to create an array with 6 different elements, 6 different colors, and then depending on the iterator, it's going to determine that color. So we need to actually, let's create this calendar colors variable. Calendar colors. And we want it to be an array. It's got to have 6 different things. And instead of typing 6 here, why don't we do calendar colors.length? That way we're not statically typing anything. We want to make sure that this is flexible. So the colors that we're going to use, calendar app.color. Do we want to do event color? I think event color. And then it gives us a whole bunch of options here. So let's just do them. We'll do red. That'll be the first one. I'm going to copy and paste these. 2, 3, whoa. 3, 4, 5, 6. And I don't want pale red. Let's do blue. Oops, it's got to be all caps. Blue. I think there's an orange in there. Let's do green. Let's put a mauve. Nice. Okay, and one more. Ooh, cyan. All right, and then one more color there. Okay, perfect. So that's going to create an all-day event every day that's in our calendars with one of these colors. And that should be everything we need to do here. Let's go ahead and run build calendar. And cannot read properly length calendars. That'll do it. When you don't use your variables correctly, it will cause problems. So this is going to run as long as it's creating. If I go to calendar.google.com, let's take a look here. Let's see, we should be able to see this thing getting built. Yeah, 6-day cycle calendar. Let's turn off these other things. Let's go to a month. And it is not building. Okay, sorry for that pause. I had to troubleshoot a little bit of an error there. It actually said I was creating too many events. So there is actually a quota on the calendar app, but I think you can get around that by adding in a utilities.sleep, I cannot spell, utilities.sleep, and then give it a 1 second delay. All this does is it just pauses your script for 1,000 milliseconds, 1 second, and then it'll create the next one. You might need to slow it down more than that, depending on how many events you're creating. But let's just see if we can, let's see if this fixes it. And let's go ahead and run. And let's see if, let's see, let me refresh the calendar here. Okay, there we go. There's my 6-day schedule. All right, so some events are popping up here, different colors. Those are very pastelish colors. I wonder, so you can play around with the colors. That'll be interesting. Okay, and they're coming up slowly but surely. Because there is a 1 second delay after every single one. And it should go through your whole calendar, probably about 180 some events to create just an all-day event telling you which of the cycles you are on, and the colors should match up, right? A1 is always this red, F6 is always the same, E5, yeah, okay, everything kind of lining up perfectly to what we have here with holidays in and everything. If you like this video, please subscribe and check me out on Reddit, Teachers Can Code. Submit some of your own projects. I'll try to, any teacher that needs help with coding, I really want to help you out in using, G Suite or even Office 365, anything with web development, JavaScript in it. I'd love to help you out. So cheers.